Community is about connections, and in games, it's often about the connections we have with each other. If we both love the same game, and we seek out others who feel the same, then we all bond around that common interest and form a community. But it's also about having a connection to the game itself. It's about countless little hooks throughout a game's many systems that grab you, that intrigue you, that make you feel invested, that make you want to stay. And beyond that, make you want to bring others in so that you can share your experience with them. And the better a game is at that, the better chance a game has of forging a community around it. And I think a lot of times we don't consider this effect enough when talking about design. If a game is good, people will play it because it's fun, and if enough people play it, then a community forms. And sure, I think in a roundabout way that happens. But I also think you can design a community. Not directly, of course, but certainly through the influence of your in-game systems. And it is within that idea where I believe the future of Halo's community lies. And it is, in my opinion, the secret to rebuilding it. Now, that's not from ground zero. I'm not saying Halo's dead. After all, I said that 5 years ago, and yet we're all still here. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get all the way back to the pinnacle, to the #1 spot where Halo sits on the throne once more. But I absolutely believe it has the potential to enter the conversation, and that it has the potential to be mentioned among the great shooters of our modern time. Not just as a precursor, not just as a legend or a legacy of yesteryear, but as a powerhouse of today, which as of right now, we are not. But we can get there. We can rebuild Halo's community. How? By designing it. So where do we start? Oddly enough, it's with microtransactions. Now, I'm guessing a large portion of you just had your eyes roll to the back of your head, but it's not what you think. It's not just, oh, people don't like microtransactions, so if we get rid of those, then people like the game more. Hooray, the community's saved. What a brilliant and novel idea no one's ever thought of. No, it's about connections. It's about the influence of a system and how that system has the potential to run throughout a game and connect with other systems in a way that influences people to engage with an experience. And if it sounds like I'm completely talking out my ass and that this makes no sense, please bear with me, because I'm going to walk you through this process and show you those connections. I'm going to show you how to design a community by taking a system, interweaving it throughout a game, connecting it with other pieces that at a glance feel separated, which creates cohesion throughout your experience, and that creates an experience people feel more connected to. And through these connections, that influences behaviors that create even more. You might not have gotten that. You could be completely confused right now, but that's okay, because in about 20 minutes, not only will you get it, but I'm hoping it might just forever change how you feel about game design going forward. So why microtransactions? Because it's just the starting point. It's just the root of this idea. So listen as I weave you through its branches. It's the beginning of this concept, or rather, it prohibits it from beginning at all. In Halo, a lot of folks, including quite a few devs, dismiss the in-game microtransactions as just cosmetic. It doesn't negatively affect the game, therefore it doesn't hurt the game. It doesn't alter gameplay, so there's no way it could be bad. I'd like to challenge this, because the cosmetic microtransaction system resides in a design space that just so happens to be ripe for community interaction. If you have systematic microtransactions as your method of distributing cosmetics, then you very simply have an inferior Halo, because that system prohibits a better one from existing, like the one I'm about to describe. What if you were to design a system built on cosmetics being distributed via, I don't know, in-game accomplishments? Now, we talked about this briefly, and it's been received positively. A lot of people are receptive to the idea, but I want to expand on what this actually is. This is a reward system. This is a design space that you can curate to indirectly influence players and encourage them to engage with your game in certain ways. And if you do it right, you can influence incredibly powerful community interactions. If your cosmetic unlock exist in a system that rewards you through specific in-game accomplishments as opposed to rewarding you for monetarily investing or just generally engaging with it over a period of time, then you can attach meaning to each cosmetic, because each cosmetic is emblematic of a specific task completed. And if players are rewarded for completing specific tasks, then they can build an identity around their accomplishments. Why is this powerful? It creates goals. It creates engagement because it gives players a goal to accomplish. Hey, do you want the sharpshooter helmet? Get 4 kills with a sniper without reloading. Do you want the scout shoulder pads? Win a capture the flag game without letting the other team touch your flag. These can range from very easy, get 2 double kills in 1 game, to very hard, win 10 games in a row. And as players complete these challenges, which reward them with a cosmetic that is emblematic of their feats, they build an identity. If you are a good sniper and you complete a bunch of challenges that involve it and wear what you unlock, your armor literally represents your skill with it in-game, and you can be proud of that. And everyone else in the game will look at that and know what you had to do to get it. In addition, it can increase engagement by suggesting new ways to play, maybe by trying new parts of the game or playing old parts in new ways. I think back to one of the Vidoc challenges in Halo 3 where you had to beat the last mission in Ghosts. I had already beaten that mission before multiple times, and yet I did it again, and I got 3 of my friends to join me, and we spent hours trying, and it all started due to the influence of one single armor set, which is of course Recon. And that's the power of unlocks through in-game achievements. It encourages you to engage more, it encourages you to engage in new ways, and it rewards you for your engagement with unlocks that simultaneously represent your identity within the experience. And if you design this right, if you design this with the intention to connect your various systems and foster community interaction, then this is not just something for the elite players who are good. It's for every player. For instance, let's take a player who is intimidated by ranked matchmaking. They're not a great shot and prefer to play support roles in BTB. If you design your community properly, then you reward that player. You can create challenges and unlocks that allow them to show their identity as well. And they're not excluded, they're not casual, they just love doing other things, and the game not only recognizes that player, but it allows them to be recognized in-game for being the type of player that they are. For instance, a wheelman who loves to drive their teammates around. Maybe you don't even like multiplayer, maybe you prefer campaign. Good news. The game is designed to reward your engagement. The game acknowledges you've beaten the campaign lasso. It acknowledges you found all the skulls. It acknowledges you're a speedrunner because you got a helmet for beating the game really fast. And while it rewards your engagement, it simultaneously creates it by offering even more challenges and encourages you to play the game in a way you maybe hadn't thought of before or had no reason to try, i.e., the Vidoc challenge I mentioned earlier, which gave one mission an additional 4 hours of my time, an enjoyable 4 hours with friends, I might add. Perhaps now your eyes are beginning to notice that connection I vaguely referenced at the start. Do you see what I mean by a system interweaving throughout a game and connecting its various components? A reward system that encourages engagement, rewards you for it, and is connected to not just the competitive multiplayer components, but the more social ones as well, and the campaign players, and the firefight players. You can design it to represent all of them and bring them together. And when they all meet in some absurd custom game, you can at a glance see just how many different types of people play it. And the campaign player can feel great about themselves, and the ranked superstar can as well. And you literally enable your community to show in-game what part of the community they love the most. And that is very, very powerful, but we're not close to being done. What other types of engagement can this create? What if you're a Forge player? You love making things. Hell, you might love making maps more than you like actually playing on them. Could this reward structure include this part of the community as well? Absolutely, if you design it that way. First, you need a content distribution system. You need a way for players and creators to take their custom content and share it with others, like a file share, for instance. This is in and of itself a very powerful tool. Now, take your reward system and interweave it through your content distribution center. You can connect them together. How? Well, reward players who share their creations depending on how much other players engage with it. If you take a screenshot that gets liked by 5,000 people, you get a shoulder pad. If you enjoy that sort of thing, bam, the game accounts for you. Hell, it encourages you to do that. All the people back in the day who spent time making stuff like this, the game not only lets you do that, it rewards you for it. And you know why a bunch of people made shit like this? Because if enough people liked it, you got on Bungie's favorites. This shit works, folks. It drives engagement. Let's say you make a map that gets downloaded by 1,000 people. That map's in your file share. The reward structure is connected to it. People download a map from it and you unlock an anvil emblem. Not even an armor piece, just an in-game emblem that signifies you have a map sitting in your file share right now that you made with 1,000 downloads. Here we fucking go. Because you know what I and countless other people are going to do Every time we see someone with that emblem, we're going to check their file share to see what they made to get it. We are going to engage with the content distribution system, i.e. file share, because the reward system influenced us to do so. Fucking connections. And maybe I download the map and I check it out and I invite my friends on it and they download it, and that drives further community interactions. Flip it to the other side. If you're a forger, do you think you want that emblem? No shit. Not only for all the reasons I mentioned before, sense of identity, reward through accomplishments, etc., but because it literally fuels more engagement for you. If you have the anvil emblem and you go into matchmaking, it's like you're advertising your file share every single game. You encourage community interactions every time you do anything where people can see your gamer tag. Does that have the potential to be pretty powerful? I think so. Hell, you might not even be a creator. If you're just really good at the game and you're wearing a bunch of shit that's hard to get, one might look at that and go, I wonder what kind of nasty clips that dude has in his file share. Holy shit. Even theater mode's connected to this. That thing that Halo has steadily decided is less and less important, not if you connect it to a compelling file share system, and not if you reward its use through a connected reward system. If people see an emblem that is rewarded for having a popular map, people are going to check your file share. If they see an armor piece that is rewarded for taking an awesome popular screenshot, they're going to check your file share. If they see a fucking visor color that is rewarded for having a theater clip with a lot of likes, fucking file share. The potential for this is so strong. One of the biggest issues is that you're just not going to be able to show off everything you want to show off. Maybe you expand player service records. Maybe you allow them to highlight their favorite accomplishments there in addition to the cosmetics that you wear. The potential for community interaction, representation, and growth is limitless. Look at the influence of this system. Look at how it wraps itself around the campaign, multiplayer, Forge, the file share, even theater. Look at how it pulls all these components together and creates interactions between them. It is designed. It is a community system, and it funnels engagement through itself. And the catalyst for all of it was a cosmetic unlock that apparently didn't matter because it's just cosmetic. Well, it's only just cosmetic if you make it just cosmetic. But if you make it mean something, then that cosmetic becomes emblematic of that meaning. And the more meaningful hooks your game has, then the more people connect with it. So you'll have to excuse me if I call the just cosmetic argument bullshit, because like I said, this reward system resides in a design space. And if you think these interactions would make the game better, then your game is absolutely worse if you utilize that very powerful design space to sell microtransactions instead. And I think that's very important in design and why I used it as an example. Because not only is it valuable to see the influence of something and all of the potential positive interactions it creates throughout your game, which we just did, but you also need to see the influence of other things and consider the interactions they keep from happening. I hope you understand this a bit more. I hope you're on board and that you can see the ability to design systems that foster community interactions and growth within a game. That's great if you are, but that doesn't mean we're done. Let's back up a little bit. Let's pick up on a scenario we just spoke about moments ago, because now the influence of these systems that are woven throughout the inner workings of the game are about to expand outside of the game itself. Take the forger who covets the anvil emblem. They're beginning to carve out their identity within the experience. They're beginning to feel invested. You think they might share their map online? Maybe post it on a forum, make a YouTube walkthrough for it? Absolutely. What this does is it creates content. The stronger your in-game community system is, the more engaged people become with it, and the more it fuels engagement outside of the game itself. If you create a progression system for a forger, it will influence them towards sharing their work more. It might start with an anvil emblem, but you can set additional goals for them via more challenges, ending with maybe a capstone goal of getting your map into matchmaking. This is already something many forgers desire, but imagine rewarding this achievement with a unique prize. Get a map handpicked for matchmaking? Here's the cartographer armor set, and it can be all thematic and blacksmith themed, and it acts as this ultimate goal. Again, similar to how Recon encouraged people to try and get on Bungie's favorites, only now expanded to various subsets of the community, each with their own capstone. Obviously, a lot of people are going to want to create content outside of the game anyway, but it's undeniable that this acts as additional influence. People will be encouraged to share their maps online, get involved in forums, seek out communities to help them playtest it, and 343 themselves can involve themselves in this process by creating map design competitions, which not only offer the great honor of having your map placed in matchmaking, but a highly meaningful armor set as well. But this isn't the only engagement these unlocks inspire. It very literally creates content opportunities for your entire community. It influences YouTubers. Halo content creators can build content around these in-game challenges. Hey, did you see that new Green Skull video? Yeah, it's a guide on how to unlock the EOD helmet where you gotta beat Mission 7's tank section without actually using the tank. Or, hey, Ubernick just got to wave such and such in Legendary Firefight and got the Rogue helmet. Videos up on his channel. When you create a challenge and you incentivize that challenge, then that accomplishment forms meaning in a community and encourages interactions around it. Hey, Vito's going for the Gauntlet Challenge. He's won 8 games of Lone Wolves in a row and he's going for 10. Check out his stream and cheer him on. Are you trying to complete some CTF challenges? Maybe check out some of Shyway's videos on flag juggling to move through the map like a boss. And hey, you might want to do that anyway, and he'd probably make that video anyway. But if anybody decides to watch that video because they're trying to unlock a challenge that involves that particular skill set, then the system is working. It's content that allows content creators to make more content. It encourages guides on YouTube, a tangible goal Twitch streamers can set for an evening that audiences can become invested in and root for. It even creates easy content for big websites like IGN, who frequently release articles about how to unlock things. It can inspire Reddit threads, forum posts, clips on Twitter, and eventually it expands to the point where they are seen by people who don't even play Halo. And before you know it, your systems are so intertwined with one another and have such a large range of influence that it doesn't just keep players from leaving, but rather it actively attracts them to the game. A sense of community is contagious, alluring, hell, it's even addicting. And the more connected your game is, the more hooks it has, the more opportunities it generates for people, the more invested they become, the stronger the desire to find others who feel the same, and then the more people who want to see what the whole obsession is all about in the first place. And that's how you design a community. And with Halo, the big pieces are already there. If 343 can realize what they have, and if they can understand the importance of each piece and interweave them together so that it is a modular and cohesive experience that brings people together, then it's only a matter of time before it grows. You can rebuild it. As you can see, there's a lot of potential interactions if you elect for a merit-based reward system that you actively weave throughout your game. And I hope you all understand the point I'm trying to make by walking you through all of these points of connection and potential influences and behaviors that they encourage. But there's probably some lingering thoughts and questions that I'm anticipating, and I'd like to cover those and flesh this idea out even further. For instance, you may be a little locked in on my example of cosmetic unlocks and think, wow, you're telling me that all Halo needs to rebuild its community are cosmetic rewards from challenges. No. What I'm doing is showing you the influence of a single idea that half the industry doesn't even find important enough to design around. And I'm showing you how that idea can actually act as a spark for players and encourage an extremely lengthy list of community interactions, if considered amongst the many components of a game rather than just in isolation. But I could have started anywhere. I could have started with Forge, which is a lot more obvious, and I already spoke quite a bit about it. Forge is one of Halo's greatest tools, and it alone has a lot of influence, but when connected with the game's other systems, it has even more power. When combined with a compelling file share, it's easier to share. When tied to a compelling reward system, it encourages additional interactions and player investment. If the game has a custom browser, a great addition to Halo that arrived pretty late in Halo 5's lifespan, then it positively affects Forge as well. It helps people find maps, it helps players find people to playtest them, etc. But the big thing here is to try and follow its influence as far as you possibly can to make connections with things that at first don't even seem like they're related. Like Infection. If you have the mindset that your community is separated, there's campaign players and lore fans and competitive players and casuals and map designers, well, then you might look at Forge and Infection as being for two separate communities. I think a lot of people would say that. Oh, Forge is for Halo players that like to create things, and Infection is a popular mode for casual fans. The goal is to not think like that, but rather connect the two together. You can forge Infection maps. In fact, they offer a completely different style of design philosophy from regular maps, and thus can encourage players who don't like building conventional maps or maybe aren't good at it to still use Forge because they like Infection. And you design maps like that in a completely different way. Same with modes like Race. And this is extremely relevant information because neither Infection or Forge was available at launch in Halo 5. And Race still isn't because it wasn't deemed essential. It just couldn't couldn't make the launch window. And if you continue to look at modes as, oh, this is for this kind of player, and oh, this is for people who don't play multiplayer at all, then you will never look at content as if it could potentially be for everybody. And this absolutely ties into gameplay. There's a reason this channel has discussed the importance of modularity in Halo's design, because the more modular your game is, the more ways a community can use it, and the more opportunities it has to influence other aspects of the experience. When you create an idea, your first thought should be, in how many different ways can the community use this? And then you build around it, expand it, and link it up with other features. And not only does this maximize your efficiency in using resources, but it provides, again, a sense of cohesion. That way you don't look at, for instance, the gravity hammer as just another power weapon. You see it for the influence it actually has, how it's responsible for Griffball and Jenga and countless other modes. The problem is a lot of this sounds like small things in isolation. You think all we need is a file share? You think all we need is to change how we unlock cosmetics? You think all we need is an expanded service record? And if you only look at what they do at a surface level, which I unfortunately think is common practice, then you might find them to be unimportant. They're just small things and not worth the time. But if you connect them together, then you can expand the value of the resources you put into them. If you connect systems to your service record, like the reward system and file share system, which is connected to various other things, then that has a lot more value when you follow its trail of influence. It becomes valuable to include that, where players can view these things in a pregame lobby, which again is relevant because Halo 5 doesn't let you interact with players in the pregame lobby. You can't even see their name. Do not view design in isolation. View it as a root that flows throughout your game, and then it will grow more fruit and provide additional value to the seed you planted. And this isn't easy. This isn't a perfect idea. It has a lot of challenges to overcome. It's hard to think about how every little detail may or may not impact your game. And I know even this idea isn't perfect. It has flaws too. Just as you need to look ahead to see positive influences, you need to see bad ones. Like, could a challenge-based unlock system promote negative player behavior? Yeah, I think it could, and you need to design around that. If you have too many milestone challenges, like get 10,000 kills or something, then players will manipulate the game in a way that could negatively impact the experience of others. Think Warzone farming for Achilles in Halo 5. It's really important you design challenges that encourage good behavior, like reward capturing flags in CTF. And to discourage players from killing teammates over it, you need to have additional rules in place. Hey, you betray a teammate, it disables your ability to unlock challenges for that round. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, and it requires a lot of anticipation. Additionally, you might worry about players manipulating distribution systems to gain traffic. Firstly, if you have players doing this, that means they care and your system is working, but you also need to make sure you have methods of moderation. And obviously, money is a big issue, because it feels like it'd be real easy to point at anything developers try to do to make money and make an argument for how it would be better if they didn't do that. And it's not lost on me that developers need to make money, especially in an era where players expect free DLC. But the main purpose is to understand the influence of your monetization. Because like I showed, if you do it wrong, then it can prohibit a lot of interactions. For those thinking, why not both? Why not have some challenge-based unlocks along with purchasable armor? Well, because they conceptually contradict each other. If you made it 50-50, even if 343 made some money, they'd make way less. Players would most likely gravitate towards the armors that have meaning behind them due to all the reasons I listed earlier. This would damage the effectiveness of the monetization system and would probably encourage them to skew it so that there were less unlocks and the paid armors were more appealing and present, thus damaging the reward system and hurting the game. You have to be careful. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you have to make them unintrusive. If you prioritize the community and abstain from compromising your game for monetary gain, then you have a better game. Your community will trust you more people will potentially play it, Halo, being the flagship Xbox franchise, will bestow more value to the platform itself, and you can still make money in ways that don't compromise your game. We just mentioned that having a monetization cosmetic system would struggle to coexist with a challenge-based system, and that it would most likely lead to the monetization system dwarfing the reward system and damaging it. But it might work if it's the other way around. You might be able to sell armor sets if it isn't systematic. And I know I'm saying that word a lot, but please bear with me. I think they could work if they're handled more like one-offs that coincide with specific events. For instance, to promote a big esports tournament, you can sell camos and other cosmetics themed around different esports organizations, and those who buy it, again, further their identity within the game. I like esports. I'm invested in that. Such and such is my favorite team. It's a purchase that fits within the community infrastructure rather than it being a system that works against it. You can do external monetization. If rec packs and internal purchases can support external events like the HCS prize pool, why can't external purchases support the game itself? Halo is present in almost all forms of media. Do something like an exclusive loot crate where the contents are tied to the game and that the revenue supports the game directly. You can even sell this months before the game launches, and each box can have goodies and secrets that the community can speculate over and create content around. Tie it in with your in-game reward system and give subscribers a unique shoulder pad or emblem to symbolize their support. And I even think there's room for potentially a battle pass. Maybe not a traditional one, but if done right, then maybe you could make it work. It's already a system built on the idea of earning rewards, and as a side note, I think the fact people are willing to pay for the ability to earn rewards is pretty convincing. But if you launch your game with a robust and extensive collection of challenges, and this is the primary method of earning rewards and cosmetics, in a game that is content-rich and complete, the keyword there is complete, then there is a room for battle passes or seasonal progression. And while a lot of battle passes have challenges for XP boosts, I would actually make those challenges give out specific rewards to fall more in line with the system. This way, the battle pass expands the system rather than competes against it. And I also think it's really important to have free challenges as well. Maybe have a set of free challenges every season in addition to the premium ones that reward a unique cosmetic if you complete them. Like each season has their own recon. And when the new season starts, those challenges should remain. I don't think they should go away just because an allotted period of time has passed. There are other options, but the main point is it's worth exploring those other options. It's worth exploring alternatives and keeping heavy monetization out of your game because, as we just discussed, it makes your game better. I know this hasn't spoken about gameplay a lot, but that's kind of on purpose. Because no matter what kind of Halo fan you are, new or old, this video applies to you. This isn't to say Halo's gameplay isn't important. I'd hope the countless videos I've made talking about it would be enough to show you that it absolutely is. It's incredibly important. And for some people, great gameplay is all they need to stay invested, and that's awesome. But if you can do more, do more. And Halo has the opportunity to do more. Halo has one of the strongest infrastructures in the industry when it comes to community features, but it needs to realize that because it's been trending more towards a live service. It's been trending towards purpose-building assets and features for specific subsets, and that connection that runs throughout the experience has been weakened. 343, if you ever find yourself saying, this mode isn't really for our core audience, then you're doing it wrong. You should take that mode or weapon or map or feature and you should ask yourself, who can't use this? And then find a way for them to be able to. Because the more connected your experience is, then the more people can connect with it. And the more people who can connect with Halo, the better chance you'll have of rebuilding it.